the final frontier. The stories contained within this content are the after 5 p.m. and before 8 p.m. escapades of a middle-aged space nerd with a fro, continuing to talk about things that only interest me for bonus content. I will talk about space news, pop culture in space and shop talk, ramen, and break down the latest episode of Star Trek, whatever is coming out from the latest franchise. And also whatever is popping in my head. If you're up for this journey, just know that this is a metered, shade-laced opinion. If you don't agree, don't subscribe, but I hope you will. And thanks for the support. Remix! I have over 4 years of, I believe, prime content that I don't think people have gotten or have not been privy to because it's been deep and deep. Some of the stuff has been erroneously archived, but I'm glad to be able to use most of it because why reinvent the wheel when I have and I can talk about things that are still relevant today and without a lot of effort on my part. I am still looking for sponsors, partnerships, and I'm just glad that I got deep. I'm like the print. I got deep content pockets, meaning I got to pull out a lot of things and just reuse, remix, and re-edit for my listeners' pleasure. And again, this is really not free. It takes my time and it takes my effort, and I would like to be rewarded for my effort. So if you like what you hear, please put 5 on it. Click the sponsorship link, subscription, Apple subscription link in the podcast notes. And just thank you for listening and continue. Please support the show. I would like to go on still creating dope and unique content, but I can't go on forever, especially if I'm not being paid for it.
3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
For the fact that I get to create something positive, what makes me happy and what I find positive is my nerd games and the images of the week. This previous week, NASA, has become a hybrid between commercial or privately owned companies and the government. I think the government squandered, is that a good way to say that? A potential moneymaker before the Elon Musk of the world took over the rocket program and assisted them to get back to the moon and beyond. With that said, even before that happened, there is so much beauty in space. If you could think that the Hubble telescope was such a big waste of money and time, I don't think you've ever were encouraged or took it upon yourself to navigate to nasa.gov to basically see some of the images and the artist renditions of the solar systems that are available to us just because we're citizens of the world. This week was more poignant because I was like, oh, this is a cute, cool constellation. And come to find out, it's the freaking Virgo constellation, which is over 50 million light years from Earth. It would take us 100 billion years to get out to that mug. And I got my astrological sign constellation is there for the world to enjoy. It is absolutely gorgeous. And I'm going to read from you. It just took me by surprise how beautiful this is. It's filled with all my favorite colors. And I just think it's just amazing. So, the quality of this image has never been debated. The constellation or the galaxy itself is called NGC 4535, and it was actually discovered in the 50s. The different colors and the renditions, when you view it with a smaller telescope, it has a hazy, ghostly appearance to it. And that led to Leland Copeland back in the 50s naming it the Lost Galaxy. It ain't lost. It's Virgo, child. Stop it. The bright colors in the image are so beautiful to look at, and it just tells us about the population of stars within this bared spiral galaxy. The bright bluish colors are nestled in the spiral arms, and it indicates a presence of a greater number of younger and hotter stars. In contrast, the yellow tones of this galaxy bulge suggest that this central area is home to stars which are older and cooler. And it kind of cracks me up if our Milky Way looks, if I were a nerd sitting in Virgo's constellation, would the Milky Way look this beautiful? I don't know, because I can't see that perception. I would hope it would be, because I'm here, because I'm beautiful. But anyways, but I also, this galaxy is being studied as part of physics high angular resolution nearby galaxy survey. It's called the FANGS. It's to clarify the links between coal gas clouds, star formations, and the overall shape and other properties of the galaxies, which, if you're trying to plan a mission to another galaxy or even to another planet within our galaxy, you can extrapolate some of that information for safe landings of human exploration, or to send in robots. I'm just saying there's going to be so much wealth of information that we're going to be gathering from the FANGS survey that's going to be applicable to as we explore and map the moon, as well as get to Mars and any other nearby planets. So I'm all into that. Also, this previous week, they did a hot test fire of the booster rockets that are going to launch us to these constellations, hopefully. There was a successful test of the B-2 rocket. There was an 8-minute. This was just back on the 16th, out at Stennis in St. Louis, Mississippi. I'm supposed to be in Mississippi in 2 weeks. I don't think that I'm going to be anywhere near to basically see these types of tests going on. But it also goes back to the fact that the space program has continued to proceed with spots in the Gulf, and which makes sense because the fuel that they need to test these boosters probably are made of a combination of petroleum products that they pump out of the Gulf. So hats off to them. I think the space program is still good money for everybody to make, and you don't have to be Elon Musk to be able to share in it all. I also learned about the Hot Fire and the Green Test Series. This is a comprehensive assessment of each stage of these rockets and their contribution to get us back to the moon in the Artemis 1 program. In my notes for the podcast, I have the probably this rocket that they just tested last week, as they were standing it up, to go through this test fire. So it's pretty amazing. Human ingenuity. I can't wait, and that propels me to want to be healthy enough and sane and lucid enough, because when we get, is it 2 years? I know we're, International Space Center, the International Space Station, but 2023, it's only like 2 years. I need to survive because I want to see us land back on the moon. I think it's exciting because that's just one of many stages to get us to Mars. And I would love to be around to watch the first landing to Mars. Speed beside, I think the round trip will maybe take 8 years unless we be able to go to warp speed. I mean, that's just a no-brainer. But at the same time, I'm just excited about the images and the life, and to be able to share those details with a listening audience, and with them sharing it with us. Who could ever have imagined me doing this podcast, as well as possibly colonizing space, but without taking the prejudices and the problems that plague us here on Earth. I mean, I had to put that in, I guess, but who knows? I don't know what people think that I do, or meaning, I don't know what people think that I do all day. Most days, I lead a pretty boring life, I would think, if you were looking in. Um, the My biggest thing is, now that I absolutely have a kitchen, I absolutely like to cook, but I hate to clean up. So I find myself, um, I find myself when I'm not fussing with my dog, um, in my kitchen, just figuring out or trying different things. A couple of months ago, actually, let's go back a little bit. At the beginning of the pandemic, before I even sold my place, Sis, in North Carolina, that even sounds weird to me, I had ordered a bunch of beef to put in my deep freezer in North Carolina. That's one of the things that I'm sad that I left behind. I had an upright deep freezer, and I didn't bring it with me. Um, One of the things, it stayed in storage. It would have had to stay in storage for almost a year, so kind of glad I didn't. But one of the smarter things that I did was absolutely buy a couple of $100 worth of beef. And it was probably one of the smartest things that I did, because right after that, and the delivery, the pork and beef industry came to a head when a lot of the um, plants had to shut down, because workers were falling sick, truckers were falling sick, the supply chain, um, and shipping and logistics went all to hell. So not only was I able to get beef from Omaha Steaks at a reasonable price at that time, I was actually able to get it before the shipping industry and the big industrial complex that is the massive meat packers, all that shit went to hell. it was one of those things that I did and I did well, et cetera, et cetera. So I put all that stuff on. I put all that stuff on ice. When I absolutely sold my properties and I moved to Tennessee, and then I closed on this property here on Forest at the beginning of the summer, June, and I didn't have a lot left, and I knew I wanted to get a re-up, so I was watching TV, and there's actually a local uh, old school butcher, Ed's uh, Ed's butchery in Hickson. That's when I also found out like a lot of the stuff that I depend on is in Hickson, of all places, the most MAGA rich place, but I didn't see that anywhere on their site. Um, because I say that to say this, because if I had saw some Trump positive crap on the site, I wouldn't have bought from them. But I don't know if they're just smart, but they basically ain't trying to mix business with some political ideas, and I'm actually grateful for that. But not too long after moving here, I basically was able to go up to good old Ed's and purchase at least several months of locally sourced, locally sourced beef products here. Again, right before the meat industry and logistics took a nosedive or went to hell once more, as we continually try to emerge from this Panera bread. And I say all of that to say the background of what I'm cooking for my Sunday dinner. I wanted to make it clear. My plan today is, I just really thought of this. I'm having braised beef tips. I don't really like the taste of like sherry or wine based. But I think I'm gonna have to hook that up so I get rid of this cooking wine. Just saying, or the rest of that Malbec over there that I actually have, and I can open up a fresh bottle. I think that's gonna be good. But I just looked up online the best way to cook beef ribs. It's low and slow. If you're going to braise them, you get the pan hot. Use a cast iron skillet if you have one. And you just basically brown it on all sides. You can follow it up with cooking after you set them to rest. You can then cook, if you're going to cook like vegetables after that. I'll probably see, I don't have any mushrooms, got throw those away, but I'll probably sear some of those scallions I have in there, and no, I'll probably save that for last. But I'll actually then go ahead and braise them as suggested online by one of the chefs. I don't think she's an amateur chef. I just think I like her um, recipe because it's very simple. Season up, salt and pepper, but I actually use a meat tenderizer. Braise or brown the short ribs on all sides. Add the braising liquid. I'm going to use a combination of beef stock and, as I said, the red wine. I'm not going to add too much, probably going to add a little bit less then fill the pan up to a little bit less if they're laying flat, a little bit less than half. And then I'm going to cook them on 200 and check the temperature. I decided to cook it that way, low and slow, and follow the temperature because I don't want to overcook it, because I don't want the beef tips to actually shrink too much. And then I'm going to cook up some. I have some mashed potatoes that I am going to use a little bit of the scallions and the garlic, and I'm going to re-whip those potatoes because I also have some cream in there. Get them nice and smooth, and then top them with the braised short ribs and mashed potatoes. That's how I'm actually going to do Sunday dinner. And I hope those pictures are going to make you want to lick your screen, because that's the whole intent. If I'm going to cook from home, at least the food needs to look good. I'm just saying, y'all. We ready? Say what? Say what? We ready? Say what? Say what? We ready for y'all. We ready. We ready for y'all. Say what? Say what? Say what? We ready. We ready. Go ahead, y'all. We ready for y'all. Y'all, I don't know how ready we fitting to be, because everybody and their cousin is on the sidelines. Now, granted, the Cowboys did win a resounding, they basically punked New England. They started looking like the old Cowboys, and everybody, including myself, was concerned that we were going to be looking crazy with Zeke Elliott starting out as a Patriots. But it looks like their quarterback couldn't get anything running in their game, even with Zeke in the lineup. The bromance between Dak Prescott and Zeke Elliott still looked like it was intact in spite of them playing on opposite teams. I think they actually had a real friendship, and it still is evident in their interaction on the field. But it didn't keep us running the game up on them 38-3. Just saying. But I don't know about what's coming up for this week as we go up against San Fran, because these are the same mugs that basically kept us out of the playoffs last year. And everybody and their cousin is hurt. This is a list of who's hurt now. I don't know who's going to be playing. I think they're going to have to be bringing out the practice squad and the water boy and the kicker, just because, and every fourth string, everybody, because everybody is on the injury list. We got Chuma Edoga, his knee, he out. Big head Zach Martin, he get a raise, he's still out for a thigh injury. My boy, CeeDee Lamb, I still got to get his throwback. He has rest because his knee jacked up. DeMarcus Lawrence, why he out? Wait a minute. Why is DeMarcus Lawrence out? I'm going to have to look that up. Tyron Smith, Peyton Hendershot, Damon Clark, Rico Duato, I didn't even know he played for us, Stephon Gilmore, Malik Hooker, Micah, seriously? Damn. Oh, this is funny. I just want to mention him because I like his name. Y'all remember Debo from Friday? But Debo Samuel, he has his ribs, and he took shots to rib knees. He's out too. That's for San Francisco. But let's go back though, because something don't sound right. Why is DeMarcus Lawrence on the injury list? Why is DeMarcus Lawrence not playing? No, that's 21st. Foot injury? Is this right? They said it was non-injury related. Oh, that's 2018. Not playing or didn't practice this week. It doesn't say he didn't participate. He fractured his foot. Maybe they're still resting it. I don't know. I just want him to be back in full effect. This is the thing. Also, is the stadium because we played, where did we play? Where did we play them last week? $2023. We played them at our stadium. Is AT&T Stadium artificial turf or grass? You think I would know since I went to 6 games there. Helix Matrix turf is artificial turf. Maybe that is what led to all these injuries. And maybe they should reconsider putting grass down in the stadium because of all of these injuries. They spent $1 billion on it. I thought if you ever go to AT&T Stadium, it does look like something out of something extraterrestrial. I actually went to one game at Texas Stadium when it was in Irving and this one in Arlington. And I think I'm with reconsideration of using AstroTurf or artificial turf because of its association with injuries. And we could see almost the entire defensive line is almost on the sidelines from practicing on that bullshit and from playing on that bullshit. So with that said, dear Jerry, consider switching to grass. Take some of that money, invest it into switching to grass, and keep it pushing. I'm just saying. Have to have a kind of palate cleanse because I've been watching or binge watching Snapped, and these people are some of the most privileged, sadistic white folks I've ever seen in my life. That's why I'm so glad that I get the opportunity to nerd out on stuff like Star Trek. So, in this episode, the ending of Star Trek Discovery, it was about 2 weeks ago. Storyline was whack, special effects were awesome, but therefore I don't have any Star Trek logs for your listening pleasure this week. So I made this section basically, it's emphasizing all of the different ships of Star Trek. In fact, one of the main ships that popped up in my feed was Future, Enterprise D, and the Defiant. I am such a fan of DS9 and that little ship itself. And the artist renditions on Star Trek Online are right on point. And then while I was kind of scrolling through the feed for the ships of Star Trek, I started seeing little niggles about the next season of Picard, because I realized at the end of that much anticipated series that they had already announced the renewal of for the second season, and they had already started talking about the third season. But I haven't seen anything as far as fandom talking about that series. But before I get to that, and this is where this particular ship comes to. There is the Dakahini, which is a warbird, which is just a beautiful warbird that you can see on Star Trek Online, which makes me think that I really need to get back into that video game, because I haven't played it in a number of months, as well as an artist rendition of the 1701. I did enter into that contest, and no, I didn't win the stupid pin, but this particular ship is very beautiful. So that's when I found out not only about ship the 1701, but also there is a reimagined intro to Star Trek Voyager, which is another spinoff of the series. And I thought it was just very, very pretty amazing. And you can actually watch it in its entirety because I've posted the YouTube link in my blog. So then it came to the fact that I'm not one of those fans that is having convulsions that Star Trek Discovery is over, but I'm looking forward to, there is 1701, where Christopher Pike actually is one of the captains of the original Enterprise, but also, as I was saying, Picard was supposed to already drop. There have been nothing in the news about when they actually wrap production on season 2 because of COVID, and when is the season 2 that evidently CBS already bought before season 1 wrapped. So you can give us some whack crap like The Stand, but you can't tell us with the much anticipated Picard is going to drop. I don't understand that at all. We know who's going to come back, but this teaser is crazy because everybody is in this teaser. Geordi, Dr. Crusher is in this bitch. Jean-Luc Picard looks really good for 2,000-year-old white dude. Whoopi's supposed to come back because Picard went on The View to ask her, and she said, yeah. But at the same time, there's also some parallels with the ship itself, the Defiant. The Defiant was basically put into service to basically fight the Jem'Hadar, which is the fighting army for Odo's people, the Dominion. So I love the Star Trek Deep Space Nine because it was before Discovery. It was one of the only of the series which was anchored by a black man, as a commander and as a captain. Avery Brooks played that part and he played it well. I thought his new look and the new uniform, gray uniforms, with his bald head and goatee, he basically grew into the part. And it made sense because it became full circle, because I think it was season 7 that he was actually descendant from a Bajoran prophet, for the nerds of the Star Trek verse. Deep Space Nine is several hundreds of light years in the Gamma Quadrant by a group of people likened to maybe Judaism, have a whole bunch of prophets. There is a wormhole that connects the Gamma Quadrant to the rest of the universe. On the other side of that quadrant is a warlike but shape-shifting group of people called the Dominion, ran by that, and the Jem'Hadar are their muscle. The Bajorans, the prophets, are a group of aliens or whatever that basically keep are gatekeepers of this connection between the two worlds. And they basically stood by as the Bajorans were subjugated by the Cardassians. The Federation comes in. They basically take over, kick the Cardassians out, take over Deep Space Nine, this space, and protect the Bajorans and the rest of the Alpha Quadrant from the marauding Dominion and the Jem'Hadar. All of this unbeknownst to Benjamin Sisko as he goes through Starfleet. He is raised by a single father, and the lady who he thinks is his mom is only a stepmother, in a restaurant in New Orleans. He has he almost dies, I think. I can't vaguely remember, but he goes back to Earth soul searching, and that's when he discovers his true origins. His mother is a Bajoran prophet who basically wants to experience all that it is to be a human. She has Sisko, and she orphans him in on Earth with the dad. Very Mary and Joseph. And his dad, Joe? Wait a minute. I have to look up. I'm going to have to look that up. That's very Immaculate Conception. What is Ben Sisko's father's name? Oh my God. Yes. He is Joseph Sisko, y'all. That is what always tripped me out about Battlestar Galactica, as well as Star Trek and even Star Wars. The political connotations, but also the religious connotations. How in the world? Mary, who is a prophet, her mother, she actually has the Sisko, or Benjamin Sisko, and she goes back to glory. I can't even, y'all tripping me out now. I just realized, because of course Jesus' dad is Joseph. I can't even. I'm too through with Star Trek. Y'all killing me. 25 years later, I'm tripping out about Star Trek and all the religious connotations. But I say all of that to say is, I'm really digging Star Trek, and if you see some of my posts with food, you see my Bajoran communicator, because I always really love that particular series. I'm thinking about rewatching it before either Picard or something else drops. The new series featuring the Enterprise with Captain Pike. But I want to explore the whole Christianity and religious connotations with the Bajoran prophets, the Cisco, and a black man and his mama. I wonder if her name is Marion, because that would just be too much for me. So let me look this up too. What is Ben Cisco's mother's name? Because if her name is Marion or Marauder, something that is equivalent with Mary, I'm going to freak out. Sarah. Who is that? Abraham? I don't know. But at least it's not Mary, though, because that would have been just way too much for me. But she was the mother of nations also. That name does ring, have a religious bell to it, too. That just blew me away. But it also led me to a Variety article that was published in 2018, where all of the previous stars posed for pictures. A lot of these stars are dead. Like Renee Abajanis, Odo, he passed away of cancer, I believe, not too long after this article came out. I see the first and second Trills. The first one actually was more prettier, and she, what was her name? Esri Dax, and because I'm looking at her now, Jadzia Dax, the Dax Trills, as well as Major Kira and Quark. At first I was like, who are these old white people? And then it took me a minute and stopped drinking for a minute to basically realize who all of these characters were and how I was just blown away that, number one, I could remember them, because it took me a minute to remember the Dax Trills, but how all of these characters played such a role in my make-believe life, because I love this series. And I didn't realize just until today how much I did, because I remember all of these characters' names. The showrunners don't really care about, but then I realized that there's a picture of the Ferengi, Nog. He passed away from renal cancer, but this is his dad's wife, the Bajoran, who I can't remember her name to save my life, but she actually looks pretty fly. It's Aaron Eisenberg who played Nog. He passed away not too long ago. And then there's Terry Farrell, the original Dax, Jadzia Dax, with Michael Dorn, who played Worf, who looks pretty skinny in this picture. I hope pancreatic cancer, prostate cancer didn't take him. And then what flipped me out is I was looking at this character. I was like, his face looked familiar. Go do freaking Cott is still alive, y'all. He is sitting here chilling in his sneakers, sitting next to the guy that played all the Wei Youngs and different characters. At least 7, 8 different. I think he also played an Andorian too, which cracked me up. But the character Jeffrey Combs also played Wei Young. These are two of the most quintessential characters besides the Kai, who I can't stand, and I'm glad that Gul Dukat took her crazy ass out. But the Wei Young character, Gul Dukat, and then Sirach Lofton, who played Cisco's son, he is fine now. He a big dude, as well as Penny Johnson that played his last wife, Ben Cisco's last wife. She still looks the same. This was only 2-3 years ago. So Black don't crack, and these characters are just absolutely so cool and so beautiful that it just wants me to go sit and re-look at the 7 series of this groundbreaking series itself. I don't know or think that Star Trek Discovery is going to have this long of a run, because if you look on Star Trek Online and some other fan chats, it's not like Star Trek Discovery is really breaking any grounds, except it's a Black female woman. But then you look at the leader of Deep Space Nine, because it followed the Next Generation. Is it so outside of the Star Trek verse that it's a prequel or a sequel that you just so mad because it's so different? But y'all need to stop tripping, because it really isn't. They did all of this in the 90s with Deep Space Nine. And it was obvious that they spent the money and they had great writers in the Berman brothers, because I look at the special effects, and the storylines were a little bit whack, and it got even worse when they let the actors and actresses, it was obvious that they let them motherfuckers write the scripts. And some of the fan authors write them scripts in the last season, but all the previous 6 seasons were even a bomb. And it wasn't until they got seems like it didn't until they got the original writers back, and they basically closed it up to a certain extent, that it was going to go out with a bigger of a bang. And it was just obvious that you can't do but so much in artistic integrity and letting the actors practice their craft. I honestly think that was the demise of that show. But it was obvious when the Dominion and the Jim Hadar, those particular scenes, and who was actually writing that, and the special effects team and the buy-in, because it was obvious that the original stars were not writing or directing any of that original stuff, because it was a definite difference between the first 6 seasons and that last season. And I'm just saying, stay in your lane. If they had just kept with the original formula, and also it was very obvious if they had just played up the Romulans' effect, as far as fighting the war with the Dominion, and that probably would have made more sense to me, because if you tell me anything, the Romulans are more deadly and treacherous than any Cardassian or Jim Hadar. I'm just saying. But at the same time, if they had played that up and not gone off some deep end with the prophets, I think it would have been a better ending than the actual ending. And I'm going to have to re-look at that, because, again, it was very obvious that they didn't have the same writers in the last season as they did in the previous 6 seasons. I still liked it, and I still watched it just because it was Star Trek Deep Space Nine. But at the same time, the quality of the storylines were kind of whack. Do I think they were as whacked as the 3rd season of Discovery? Probably not. But what I would like to see is more of the fight scenes that I got used to with Giorgio, if I can put that out there, for Discovery. And I think there are lessons learned if you would look and parallel that last season of Deep Space Nine compared to what they can and what they should consider doing for 4th season of Star Trek Discovery. It's a question mark I still have with the series anchored by Christopher Pike and Spock. I don't know, y'all. I don't think I saw anything in the news as far as a drop date on that. But I'm going to look forward to it. I'm also looking forward to Picard, and seeing how they interact all of the next gen cast in the next season of Picard, and if they are as willing to bring back some of the DS9 characters back. Is there a place for the Dominion and the Jim Hadar in the 31st or 32nd season? Maybe, because you got to be a changeling and you got to be gangster to be able to survive in this, what it is this new norm. I wouldn't be shocked if we see some Jim Hadar wrecking-ish in the 32nd century. I think it would be cool. Just like I would see the Rehorn Andorians, Cardassians, and a couple of Klingons, and the new Navarre folks reckon ish and going for theirs. Who knows? But with that said, I think the next series, whatever it is, as far as Star Trek, is going to be all of that in a bowl of grits. And I'm just looking forward to talking about it on my show. I wanted to end my broadcast or this recording with just some fresh beats and as a reminder for us to be kind to ourselves, be kind to our minds, and keep creating. I mean, there's just so much horrible things and mean things going on in the world. And this is not goodbye. This is just until we meet again or until I record and drop another episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I've enjoyed creating it. Check me out on social media. TNFro is Reading on Instagram, TV Food Wine Girl on Twitter, and TNFro is Reading the Book Club. I hope to get into a better state of mind as we recover as a nation from just the tragic happenstance of the last several weeks. And again, I admonish you to be kind to yourself and be kind to others. Be the action that you want to be. If you want kindness, give kindness, exude kindness, and just love yourself and love others. And again, thank you for listening.
Mike Beats.